J.C. Corcoran Podcast.
Excuse me, sir, is this the Delta House?
Sure. Come on in.
You know, I've been thinking about this. You know what makes people violent? I don't think it's television or films. I think it's alarm clocks because it wakes you up abruptly, you know, puts you in a bad mood. You're irritable, you're cranky. I think you should just wake up naturally with an alarm clock that has a human voice. You know, like, come on, buddy, time to get up, pal. You're looking good. You got the whole day ahead of you. Come on, out of bed. Come on, let's go. Up you go. Come on, buddy. Come on. Up you go now. Move it. Let's go. Move it. Move it. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. Then you hit the snooze alarm. Sorry, buddy. I didn't know what I was talking about there.
Most of us on waking in the morning know exactly where we are. The rooster or the alarm clock brings us out of sleep into the familiar sights, sounds, aromas of home and the comfort of a routine day ahead. Not so with our young friends. This will be a day like none they've ever spent, and they'll spend it in the Twilight Zone.
No, I'm just getting warmed up.
Happy to see you again. Happy because you are my friend. I haven't seen you for a long, long time. Still a wink. Happy to see you again.
I'm going to say some bad words. You're just going to have to deal with it.
Oh, I like to talk.
I am good at dealing with people. Can't you understand that?
I'll write it and we'll do it live.
You're a freak with a microphone.
I'm kind of a big deal.
Surprised you never listened, Joe. There's 2 or 3 other talk shows around, but for my money, he's the best.
However, the radio still works. Funny as that may seem.
Okay, Pugsley, I'll give you another 1,000 watts.
What's it look like?
A radio? What? Not so big, green with numbers, lots of knobs.
Now, I think we're ready for rehearsal.
All right, we've made it to week number 2 here on JC Sunday Showgram on News Talk STL. How you doing? Got a big show, and a lot of people went to the News Talk STL absolutely free app on Monday morning and got the podcast version of our Sunday show. I don't expect you to wake up every Sunday morning at 7 a.m. and listen to the show yet. Eventually, I'll win you over. It'll be to the point where you're setting your alarm, because you'll say, I don't want to miss any of this. We're going to have a lot of baseball stuff today. The playoff games, even in leagues and with teams that I'm not that very interested in, the games have been absolutely spectacular. And things are going to be a little different around St. Louis for a couple of years. It appears to be the case. You know, Cardinal baseball was it. I don't have to tell you, if you've been around here for any appreciable amount of time, you know that the Cardinals have been it. And so much of what we did on our various incarnations of the shows, depending on what radio station we're talking about and when, so much of it revolved around Cardinal baseball. Now, we're going to have to think about other things to talk about because the Cardinals just don't have the juggernaut that they used to until they start winning again. I think it's going to be a little weird around here. But in terms of the archives, oh yeah, we've got lots of really great stuff. This is going to be a very funny show today, so I hope you can stick with us. As we always do, to kick off the show, it is the Weekend Pickup, a collection of especially pointless and stupid stories fired at you in rapid succession. Let's go to press. Saturday Night Live made its debut on yesterday's date in 1975, 50 years ago. There was a lot of discussion in those first couple of years because they were contemplating having a permanent host. One of the people approached was David Letterman. George Carlin was the host of the debut show, and they even approached him about it too. And he was like, that's not my style. I'm on the road. And, you know, almost because nobody seemed to want the job of permanent host, they went with the idea of not having a permanent host, and that's still in place today. 39 years ago tomorrow is actually sort of fun. We took the radio station off the air on purpose. At 7:45 in the morning, the U-Man and I, on the 13th of October 1986, 7:45 a.m., we threw a switch which knocked the radio station off the air for 15 minutes. on purpose. We ran outside where in the parking lot of the old 66 drive-in, there was a helicopter waiting for me and John and DJ, and they helicoptered us over to the parking lot next to Union Station where, believe it or not, after a helicopter ride, now there's a stretch limo waiting for us. And it drives us, like 2.5 minutes from the helicopter pad over to the entrance of Union Station where we walk in. I complained that there was no red carpet. And we walked in, and at exactly 8 a.m., the engineers flipped a switch. I pushed a button, and Layla by Derek and the Dominoes went out over the air from our new location at Union Station. 40 years ago tomorrow, one of the most powerful offensive weapons any baseball team had ever seen, Vince Coleman was standing around sort of watching batting practice and just sort of hanging out before the Cardinal playoff game. I remember I was down on the landing. And you got to remember, this is before cell phones. This is before the internet. This is when, hey, did you hear Beaver got killed in Vietnam? People would just spread stupid stories. So I'm walking around and somebody says, Vince Coleman just got run over by the tarp. I'm like, right. One of the world's fastest human beings gets run over by a machine going 1.5 miles an hour. Thanks. Have another beer. But then I heard it from a second person. I was like, all right, what's going on? You know the rest. And it would only be a couple of days later when Jack Clark would really piss off Pedro Guerrero, who was playing left field. He took his glove off and just slammed it down to the turf, and the Cardinals were entered into the World Series. I told you there was a lot of stuff today and this week, and there is. Anniversaries of a lot of big seminal moments in, the history of St. Louis. Taylor Swift's new album came out, and there's a song about Travis Kelce's penis. Here are the lyrics. Forgive me, it sounds cocky. He amazed me, opened my eyes. Redwood tree, it ain't hard to see. His love was the key that opened my thighs. Girls, I don't need to catch the bouquet to know hard rock is on the way. And baby, I admit it, I've been a little superstitious. The curse on me was broken by your magic wand. Seems to be that you and me, we make our own luck, new heights of manhood. I ain't got a knock on wood. She nasty. All those 12-year-old girls buying her new album are like, Mom, I have a couple of questions. Redwood tree. I love stories like this. Finding out about people who auditioned for, but for whatever reason, were not chosen for a particular role in an iconic movie. Can you imagine John Candy in a more dramatic role? He tested for Goodfellas. It was also sent the script for Pulp Fiction. Bette Midler, 40 years ago, did The Rose, a movie about Janis Joplin. Shailene Woodley, Aaron Rodgers' ex, will be portraying Janis in a new biopic. She said that the experience is scary and that she is vulnerable. A truck and trailer was stolen in Canada a week ago. It was packed with $35,000 worth of salsa. It's unclear if the thieves targeted the salsa or if they just stole the truck hoping it was something more valuable. Now, if I was a truck driver in Canada and I had a big load of taco chips, I would watch the F out. I said we were going to be doing a lot of discussion about baseball, and here's our first note on that. This is the first season in 20 years where we've gone the entire season without a no-hitter. No-hitters have become more common in the past 25 years. Somebody with way too much disposable income just paid $96,000 for Princess Leia's bikini. This next story sounds like something from Curb Your Enthusiasm. A man in Colorado was stunned when he was charged nearly $20,000 at the Denver International Airport parking garage. He spent 27 minutes in the garage, which means the fee should have been $7. Just to repeat, they charged him $20,000. Cowboys owner Jerry Jones fined $250,000 for giving the Jets the finger at the game last weekend. He said he was meaning to give a thumbs up to Dallas fans.
It is a reminder I've been here when it was glory hole days, and I've been here when it wasn't. And so having said that, I want me some glory hole.
Dolly Parton is not dead. I don't even think she's dying. I mentioned that because her sister said, prayers for Dolly, making it sound like she wasn't even going to last the night. If you have a political bumper sticker on your car, you are a target for road rage. We are, as drivers, more likely to honk at people if they have a bumper sticker supporting views or politicians we don't like. If you've been into a Lowe's or a Costco or a Home Depot, you know we don't even wait for Halloween anymore. The Christmas decorations are up everywhere. As Loudon Wainwright III once sang, suddenly it's Christmas right after Halloween. Forget about Thanksgiving. It's just a buffet in between. All right, we got some birthdays this weekend. Kevin Cronin of REO Speedwagon 74. Angus T. Jones, the little kid on 2.5 Men. Ain't a little kid anymore. He's 32. Bruno Mars. And the other thing I like to do is look up people's real names. Bruno Mars doesn't have his name. His real name is Peter Gene Hernandez. He turns 40. Daryl Hammond, Saturday Night Live, 70. Chevy Chase, 82. Jesse Jackson, 84. Paul Hogan, Crocodile Dundee, is 86. And Martha Stewart officially began serving her 5-month sentence at Camp Cupcake in West Virginia. Inmate number 55170-054. And now you know. And it was on this date back in 1994. It's actually sort of a funny story. We were doing the morning show at the river, and the people who run the ketchup bottle water tower over in Collinsville said, hey, we need to raise money to paint the water tower. It hasn't been painted in a real long time. It's going to cost something like, I don't know, like $80,000 or something. Would you be interested in sort of helping us get the word out? You could do the show from the ketchup bottle. We're like, sure, why not? That sounds like fun. So we took the show over to Collinsville. We set up at the base of the whole thing. I still remember Trish Brown was with us that day, and for some reason, the Oscar Mayer Wiener wagon showed up. But, more the merrier. And I had this great idea. I said, well, Michael Stipe from REM is from Collinsville. What if we were able to contact the record company and just let Michael know what we are doing? They're trying to raise money for $80,000 at a paint job on the ketchup bottle, and he used to live there. Well, maybe we could, contact him, and maybe he could send us a little message or record something or whatever. And to our surprise, the record company said, yeah, I think we could try to do that. We'll at least ask him. And I don't know, about a week later, a little reel of tape shows up. That's the way things were back in 1994. No digital technology then. And so a little reel of tape shows up, and we're like, oh my God, Michael Stipe actually recorded a message for us, which was, hi, this is Michael Stipe of REM. Please don't tear down the ketchup bottle water tower. He got a little mixed up. It's like when you played telephone when you were a kid. It starts out with, hey, we need to raise money for paint. But by the time it gets to the last kid, he's begging society not to tear the ketchup bottle water tower down. You win some, you lose some. However, I will say we had a rousing end to that broadcast at the Collinsville ketchup bottle water tower back on, Friday? Yeah, Friday the 17th, this Friday. We're just doing the show, and this old bald guy walks up with a guitar, and he says, I have a song. I'm like, hey, the hell, why not? I didn't even listen to what he was going to play. Could have played Inagata Davida for all I know, but he appeared to be in his 70s and had this little guitar, and we got out of the way, and broadcast history was made.
Now, I think we can say, ladies and gentlemen, here in Collinsville, Illinois, it's the ketchup bottle song. Guys, take it away.
We all stood around and looked up in the sky at the mighty ketchup bottle, and we all exclaimed, oh my. The tower that we looked at was so mighty grand, the greatest ketchup bottle ever seen throughout the land. Hey! Back in 49, they took a load of steel and made from it a bottle that looked so mighty real. When you look in your icebox, you'd really be at loss to tell the giant bottle from the one that held the sauce. Oh, we all stood around and and looked up in the sky at the mighty ketchup bottle, and we all exclaimed, oh my. The tower that you looked at was so mighty grand, the greatest ketchup bottle ever seen throughout the land. Thank you.
Anyhow, when you drive through Collinsville and you look up at the Ketchup Bottle Water Tower, you can thank us. We helped with the paint job. All right, like I was saying, this coming week is the anniversary of the Ozzie Smith home run. Also, the anniversary of the Jack Clark home run. Everybody has heard the Go Crazy, folks, Go Crazy thing a billion times, but there is a tremendous story. I got goosebumps thinking about it, as a matter of fact. Tremendous story that goes with the Jack Clark home run in Chavez Ravine, October 16th, 1985. You're going to hear that story next. And then later on in the show, if you're one of those people, and this would include almost everybody, who just never understood the whole Michael Jordan quitting basketball to play baseball thing, it'll all make sense to you by the end of the show today. And I am not exaggerating when I tell you that this was one of the most interesting days of my life. It was 1974, and it was just off the campus of Northwestern University in the Chicago suburbs when I spent the entire day with the guy who was the inspiration for the Steven Spielberg movie Close Encounters of the Third Kind. All that and more as we roll on with JC's Sunday Showgram here on News Talk STL.
For a hole in your head or a whole new head, JC Corcoran, he's back.
It's JC's Sunday Showgram on News Talk STL.
How do you like this situation? The tying and possible winning runs are in scoring position with 2 out and Jack Clark coming up. So Herzog and his partner, Red Shane Deans, meanwhile, in reading Lasorda talking about walk him and pitch to that blank Van Slyke. That's what he just muttered in the dugout. I think it was a rhetorical question. Do I walk him and pitch to that so-and-so? He's not going to walk him. It is Jack Clark and Tom Niedenfuhr going head-to-head, and the ball game on the line, and the crowd on its feet. One way or another, what a way to end. And he hits one to deep left field, and that one is gone. And Lasorda got the answer to his rhetorical question. Something about, should I walk this guy and pitch to that so-and-so? Well, he didn't walk him. Look where all the players are. They want to make sure he touches home plate. Now they'll pick him up. They all backed off. That was a rule they made after Ozzie Smith hit the home run. There was some indecision as to whether he had touched home plate, so Daniel made sure. Look at who was out there at home plate. Vince Coleman. Oh, number 29. Everybody's going to be out there. You would think that the face would be a little kinder to one man in such a short amount of time. That's as slow a trip as Jack Clark ever made. I mean, he takes a lot of time. There's McGee. Look at Socia just kneeling in disbelief.
The next thing you see is the camera opening up wide, and then you see Pedro Guerrero take his glove and throw it down, and you see the scramble in the crowd. Now, they're showing the scramble in the crowd, and when they cut back to you, you're rounding first. It's like, this man is enjoying this, I think.
Well, you know, that I had played long enough at that time to realize and know that basically at that point, Tommy Lasorda was trying to show me up. Okay? And you shouldn't do that. And not just to me, but to anybody. Whitey wouldn't do it. You don't do that. You know what I mean? And that's really, you know, the Dodger Lasorda ego type thing right there. And so I was very I was emotional then because I hit it, but I was also like, take that. You know, you want to play this little game.
It's fair play. Hey, that's fair play.
You know, so I'm going to take my time around here and just show you how stupid a move that was.
And after something like that, Jack, how long does it take you to come down? Can you go back to the hotel room at that point and have a meal and lay down, get a nap, and then go out? Or are you just on such an emotional high that literally until you get to the game the next day, you're still flying?
So, you know what, to be honest with you, JC, to me it was just another hit that helped us win a game. And because to me it wasn't over with yet. We still had games to play, and I didn't want to get too high and act like, well, now that we did that, the season was over and we accomplished what we wanted. We hadn't finished our job yet. We had a long way still to go, and it was nice that happened, but, we still had games to play, and I was already starting to think about the pitchers for Kansas City and who I was going to be facing and what they were going to be throwing, and starting to focus. I remember getting on the plane and the bus, and it was great when I got back to St. Louis early morning. There was a lot of people at the airport. I never forget, one of my most memorable moments was when I went home.
Your whole neighborhood, all your neighbors were out. I remember hearing you talk about that.
I remember leaving the airport, and just tremendous crowd, and they took us from the airport to try to get away from it and bus us out because everybody's tired, and it was early in the morning. And I remember the crowd, but driving home, it was early in the morning, 3 o'clock, and there was no traffic, and it was nice and quiet and dark. But when we turned down our street, the whole neighborhood was out there with all the little kids, little babies at 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, and they had the whole street lined up all the way down with candles, and it just was, I thought it was someone from outer space looking from a distance, like, what is going on here, and everybody was out there when we got down by our street, and, they didn't stop us, they didn't bother us or anything, they just kind of waved to us, and we stopped and said hello, and it was just really, that was something that me and my family, it was very special to see, because that was really St. Louis showing its love for the Cardinals and for me and my family, and that was very important to me.
And that's baseball, folks.
This next story doesn't need much of a setup other than to tell you there are two famous Bob Greens in Chicago. One Bob Green was an exercise guy who was always on Oprah's TV show. The other Bob Green was much more famous, frankly, because he was a newspaper columnist in Chicago for decades, and he wrote very, very emotional, very, very personal accounts of little-known stories that were going around in a big city like Chicago, and was, highly decorated, got all sorts of awards. They picked him up on Nightline all the time, and that was a big thing. And Bob was sitting on top of the world until they found out that he was also sitting on top of a high school girl. And that was sort of the end of Bob, which is a shame because he was a very gifted journalist. And at the peak, at the absolute peak of popularity of Michael Jordan in the NBA, Bob Green said, I want to write a book about you, but that means I got to live with you for about a year and a half. And for whatever reason, Michael Jordan agreed to it, and the outcome was a thing called Hang Time, a very successful bestseller. Hang Time, written by Bob Green after living with and accompanying Michael Jordan pretty much everywhere for the better part of a year and a half. So then Jordan stuns the world by saying, I'm done with basketball, I'm going to be a baseball player, and we pick up the story from there with Bob Green.
And I've always thought, as you and I have talked about before, as fascinating as it is to watch Jordan on the field of play, which is very, Jordan in a hotel room with the door double locked, the do not disturb sign out, his feet up on a table, the phone off the hook, trying to make sense of this life of his, that Jordan is even more fascinating. So that's what I've sort of, because, he's living Elvis Presley's life. And yet, when the room service guy comes up, he expects lines of assistants and guards and secretaries around Jordan, and the door opens up, and it's usually just Michael in a pair of shorts. One guy. He's one guy in a 12-man team, and yet his life is so much different than anyone else really in the world is living right now, that I've thought to get to know Jordan the man, not just Jordan the athlete, is what I've tried to do.
Bob, people would look at Michael Jordan and say the guy has got everything, but clearly he has given up a lot. If you would say to Michael Jordan, what do you want for your life, for your family right now? What does Michael Jordan want? What would make him happy?
I think he'd like to go to a mall by himself. I think he'd like to be able to take his family to an amusement park. I think he'd like to go out for a walk. I asked him once, I said, when's the last time you went out for a walk by yourself? And he said, probably not since high school. I mean, no one's asking Jordan's not asking anyone to feel sorry for him. I mean, the rewards are huge. But there are no phrases that are not cliches to describe how much a prisoner of being Michael Jordan he has become. And during the reporting for Rebound when we were down in the minor leagues, that's the closest I came to seeing Jordan become, by his own doing, ordinary. It'll never happen, really.
Yeah, and by the way, the last time we tried to track you down was a couple of years ago, and we couldn't do it because you were following him around down through the minor leagues. What was going through his mind? Because to this day, a lot of people just think it was kind of the whimsy of a sports superstar who had almost like temporarily lost his mind.
Well, it's a cliche to say it. It's part of the legend, but Michael Jordan was cut from his high school basketball team when he was 15. He was told you're not good enough. And when you're 15, you don't know you're going to be Michael Jordan someday. All you know is the one thing you want the most, which is to be included on that team. You've been told you're lacking. You've been told you're no good. And when that happened to him as a 15-year-old, all he did is turn around and make himself the best player who ever lived. And the people who got him through that were his mother and his father. James Jordan really was Michael's best friend. And when his dad was murdered, Michael did the one thing you'd think he could never do, which is he willed himself to be ordinary again. He went to the one place where he was guaranteed to be laughed at and snickered at and told you're no good. He went to baseball. And he walked away from a place where he would be told every day of his life, you're the best who ever lived. And all of a sudden he was playing with guys. These guys were 10 years younger than Jordan in the minors. I mean, some of them 2 years before had been high school kids with Michael Jordan posters on their walls. And now, not only were they playing with him, but they were better than he was. And they knew it, and he knew it. And yet, in his grieving, in his mourning over what had happened to his father, it was the only way he could go to escape. I mean, it's impossible for Michael Jordan to be invisible, whether he's playing sports or not. So he went somewhere where he was guaranteed to, in some way, disappoint the people in the stands every night. And I really do believe that everything that's come since, coming back to the Bulls, coming back to the championship, was built on that foundation.
And that's what these fans are here to see. Jordan, he's handled a couple of chances well. He made an error on a ground ball, got a base hit that drove in a run. There's another hit. A drive down the third baseline. The tying run may score. He's around third, racing for the plate. The throw. Michael Jordan has tied up the ball game with a ground double to left. And this crowd has seen what it came here for. And everybody's on their feet.
The man just wanted to be ordinary. Skip Weber of the Weber Automotive Group.
A lot of 2026s have come in. Several of our brands, Traverse, Trailblazer, Equinox, were all about 2026. I think Traverses, we still have a few 25s left, but the Equinox we've been selling 26 for a long time. But the reason why I say that is the stuff that we still have 25s, it's getting to be the point now. This is where there's a bit of extra money from the factory to clean out the old model. Usually September was a sweet spot for it, but it's a little bit sooner now. And it was usually all brands together. Now it's staggered. Right now is the time for a little bit better savings. Now, the other side of that is the selection's a little more limited. There's nothing coming behind them. If we don't have the color you want on the 25 Traverse, we don't have it coming behind it typically. But we can still work with you and find it somewhere else or whatever. My point is, good time to save a little bit of extra money buying the 25 new vehicles as the model year's about ready to complete switch.
Granite City, Columbia, Illinois, Olive 270 and online at WeberChevrolet.com. The Weber Automotive Group.
It's JC's Sunday Showgram on News Talk STL.
All right. Grabbing some coffee. Thank you. Hello, everybody. This is Albert Brooks, and I'm real happy to be here. Don't ask me how it happened, why I'm in this town. It's a long story, but anyway, they said, would you come down to the station, take some calls? I said, you got it. So call in, we'll chat, and have some fun. What do I do? Line 1 it is. Let's go. Hello, this is Albert Brooks.
The woman that called in earlier about college.
No, wait.
I'm so sick of that. Save the trees. What are you going to build your house out of? Meat?
No, sir. This is Albert Brooks. I don't know what call you're referring to.
What the hell is going?
Okay, fine. Let's go to line 2 and.
You can hear him talking.
Hello, this is Albert Brooks.
Hey, come over here. You
Oh, man, put down the phone. No. All right, let's go on. Line 3. Hello. Oh, my, listen. That's interesting. Hello?
I play 11 other instruments.
Very good.
Goodbye.
All right. I think this is line 2 flashing. Hello, you're on the air. Turn your radio down. Hello. Hello.
Just do the best you can.
Hello.
Hello.
Turn your radio down.
Move on. I think this is hello.
Yes, okay. Ladies and gentlemen, I have had a B-A-double-L. I thank you all very much. I turn the program back over to numero uno. Have a happy, won't you?
We're on in 10 seconds, so get ready to have a good time.
Got a very close friend of mine here tonight. He's the #1 DJ in St. Louis. Ladies and gentlemen, J.C. Corcoran. Come down here, J.C.
I'm going to say some bad words. You're just going to have to deal with it.
I'm here with Pat Sajak. What you want?
Yeah, Pat, when are you going to take Van in the back seat of one of those cars?
There seems to be a theme developing here.
I like to talk. I tell you right out, I'm a man who likes talking to a man who likes to talk.
Do you realize that you have inadvertently given me the nickname Bobo?
Other than JC, the kindest thing I've ever heard anyone call you.
I have people skills. I am good at dealing with people. Can't you understand that?
JC recently threw out the first pitch.
25 years in St. Louis.
25 years.
Keep on doing those opening day shows. P.S. The Mets are pond scum.
How about that sign up there? JC says the Mets are pond scum.
And some 50,000 reacting.
But why pond scum?
Thank God you came along when you did, because it took Casey to a different level.
Hi, Paul. We've heard stories about how the Beatles really looked up to Elvis Presley.
Yeah, I was in love with Elvis.
J.C. Corcoran, high above the Riverport Amphitheater on opening night.
J.C. Corcoran is no longer employed at KMOX.
You're sitting next to J.C. Rock Disc Jockey, St. Louis, Missouri, and I think he thinks you're way off base.
We are currently sitting in the basement of Mike Bush.
The words we've been longing for. Here we are with Madonna. You must have people lining up 24 hours a day to kind of kiss your ass.
No.
And here we are with Oprah.
Oh, for sure, JC.
Another pitch from Corcoran to Hundley. Swing and a miss. He struck him out.
Good morning, St. Louis. Good afternoon, Moscow time.
Это американская радиостанция McDonald's.
We are ready whenever you are.
Doesn't it look like I'm ready? I am always ready.
We'll do it live. I'll write it and we'll do it live.
Surprised you never listened, Joe. 2 or 3 other talk shows around, but for my money, he's the best.
Why, does he get results?
Well, no, he doesn't do anything except talk.
Get off, Brian. Get off. Brian, I need the phone. Get off. Brian. Get off. Come on, I got to get off, Dan.
Bob Costas. JC has a fine program, and he really has become a very good radio man.
Now, therefore, I, Francis G. Slay, do hereby proclaim May 15th as J.C. Corcoran Day in the city of St. Louis.
May I now present a cultured, sophisticated man about town.
Get off it.
Welcome to the second hour of JC Sunday Showgram here on News Talk STL 101.9, 94.1, and the News Talk STL app, which is absolutely free. I apologize about my voice, which is still sort of screwed up. I got another one of those steroid shots about a week ago, and it just closes up your throat. I'm guzzling tea here to beat the band, and just trying to hang in. Thank you for your patience, not to mention your poor taste. Anyhow, we're here every Sunday morning from 7 till 9 o'clock telling great old stories. And then the whole thing goes to podcast on Monday morning on the News Talk STL app. We are, of course, in the midst of the Major League Baseball playoffs. It's a shame that the Cardinals aren't in it. I follow 2 teams every year because I love October baseball, and I hate not having a dog in the fight. That having been said, it doesn't even matter where you look because all of these series have been absolutely outstanding. Things going to game 5, decisive games and everything. And then next round, things go from best of 5 to best of 7. Right, Brian Regan?
I always love whenever there's a best of 7 series, because then I get to hear my favorite sports reporter question. Would you consider this a must-win game? You know, they always feel like they have to say yes, yeah, we want to win it. But it's not always the right answer, man. It's a math question. I wish I would answer that question honestly. It's a best of 7. You're down 1-0. Would you consider this a must-win game? No. No, we can lose tonight. We can lose tomorrow night, too. We don't want to, but that wasn't your question. You asked if it was a must-win game, and if you'd ever taken a rudimentary math class, you'd already know the magic number's 3. When you're down 3, then you must win them or you're out. I also don't like when they force answers on players. You know, are you dedicating this game to your dying grandmother? Well, I guess now I am. I didn't even know she was sick. The winning team always gives the losing team a lot of credit. you got to give them a lot of credit. They came to play. They got a good team over there and a good squad. If we weren't perfect, I don't know if we would have won this game. They should hold their heads up high. You got to give them a lot of credit. I wonder if that news ever gets to the losers' locker room. Great news, fellas. I just came from the winners' locker room. I am not making this up. They are giving you a lot of credit. I was just there. I got here as quickly as I could, but it was hard with the balloons and the confetti and all the champagne in my eyes. I was bouncing off walls to share the fantastic news. You're getting a lot of credit for their championship. And they've invited all of you to come over and kiss their rings. You guys are great. Thank you.
Just in case you are a big fan of Brian Regan and you wonder, gosh, he sure is funny. I wonder if he's a nice guy. He's one of the nicest guys I've ever met in show business. Brian Regan, just at the top of his game right now. I said at the top we were going to have a lot of sports on the show today. This is sort of a sports/entertainment thing, because you ever gone to the ball game down at Busch Stadium and they bring some singer out to do the national anthem and you're like, who the hell is this? And then sometimes you're really surprised. I remember years ago when Nico Smith, Ozzy's son, came out, and people were like, all right, he got the job singing because of his dad. And then Nico came out and really killed it. What I didn't understand is when we had big national games, Cardinals are in the playoffs, Cardinals are in the World Series, and it's time for the national anthem, and they bring somebody in from out of town. Like, hey, we got a lot of singers here. This is the opportunity to showcase, sort of brag a little bit about, hey, we got some good singers here in Missouri. Bring out Sheryl Crow. Bring out Aaron Bodie. To my knowledge, Aaron Bodie has never sung the national anthem at Busch Stadium. I think they let Nelly do something once, but every once in a while, that singer starts singing and people start looking at each other in the crowd as if to say, what the hell is going on here?
Native of Wausau, Wisconsin, this crossover country artist recently moved to St. Louis to continue her performing and recording career.
See, right there, it doesn't even make sense. She's from Wausau, Wisconsin. She's moving to St. Louis. The
Wisconsin,
hub.
And she's a country singer.
Yeah, the hub of the music industry. Music City, St. Louis, Missouri.
Mm-hmm.
Makes no sense from the
maybe
beginning.
She's saving up money. She'll stay here a year and then she'll move to Kentucky.
She's
and
eventually
then she'll
moving south.
Eventually she'll get to Nashville.
Right. Mike Shannon goes, please welcome this woman. She's from Wausau, Wisconsin, and she only had enough bus fare to get to St. Louis on her way to Nashville. Please welcome.
She's going to sing God Bless America for us today. Please welcome Carrie Beth Foster.
Never heard of her. Nope. People are looking around at each other going, huh? Who?
Are you supposed to sing? Is that you?
Who's that? Second line, she's in trouble. Second line.
God bless America.
Okay, let me ingest a six-pack and crack cocaine. I go to bed. Mm-hmm. I'm laying in bed. You awaken me at 3:30 in the morning.
Don't allow you to urinate.
Stick a microphone in my face and say, sing God Bless America.
Or at least say the second line.
Land that I love.
Land of the free.
Sorry.
Next.
Not even close.
Stand beside her.
That's right.
And guide her.
Good job. 3 out of 4.
Through the night with the light from above.
3 and above, now rhyme.
From the mountain to the prairie.
Oh, she's doing great. She'll be fine.
Somebody... Whose niece or cousin or aunt is this down at the ballpark?
Well, that's all right sometimes.
To the ocean.
Now, when you think of an ocean, you think of seaweed, but that's not really a romantic sort of thought that you would put in a song. Jellyfish.
They hurt.
You would use that in a song.
Shark attack.
But you would think of the waves hitting the coast, hitting the rocks, and producing that sort of foamy look. The ocean's white with foam. That's the song. The ocean's white with foam.
Wild and free.
At first she sounds like she's saying la la la. Wild, when she starts wild, sounds like la la. I don't know the next one.
Maybe she sings better on an E sound than an O sound.
The oceans,
so she just changed it.
Wild and free. Well, you know what? She doesn't sound good singing anything. Okay? I'm not a singer. I sing
Think
better
what would have
than
happened
this.
if she'd sung Foam.
Sounds like one of the people that would kick off of American Idol, and before they actually get to
Kick off. They wouldn't even put them on the show in the first place.
like the first couple of episodes of each American Idol where they're not even in the theater yet. They're just like in a hotel room and people are singing in the lobby. And Simon goes, "You suck. You absolutely blow." So,
My home, sweet home.
It's not easy to sing down there a cappella,
God bless America.
now, it sounds like her voice is going to go out. She's been singing for a minute and 20 seconds. She
Lori
sounds
can't
like...
even listen in her headphones anymore.
Lori's taking her headphones off.
Hurting her.
Here we go. Here's the big finish.
My home, sweet home.
Everybody's kind of like, okay.
Talk about shock and awe, man.
That was great.
The second line, God bless America. What did she even say? Land of the free?
Land of the free, I think.
Land of the free. I'll tell you what. I mean, you laugh, but I'd rather have this. No? I'd rather have this.
By the dawn's early light, what so proudly we hail in the twilight's glad gleaming, whose bright stripes and broad stars in the perilous night on our ramparts we watch.
He doesn't know the words either.
And the rockets, they flare, bunch of bombs in the air.
A bunch of bombs.
To the night that we still had our way. You'll see us ragtime banner wave over all that free. And a home of the land and the land of the free.
Anybody. Bring Mike Ditka, the former coach of the Chicago Bears, out to sing "Take Me Out to the Ball Game." Anything.
A 1.
Yeah.
And a 2. And a 3. Take me out to the ball game. Take me out with the crowd. All these happy to take back your Jackson. I don't care if I ever get back. I will run for the whole team. If they don't win, it's a shame. 1, 2, 3 strikes you're out at the old ball game.
Every word correct.
Every word. Thank you, Lori.
And he didn't waste time.
Every word correct,
In, up, fixed, out.
The best part of that is the organist trying to keep up with it, man. It's hilarious.
It reminds me of that scene from Reefer Madness where the guy's playing the piano. Even Dennis Franz. On Mother's Day would be better.
Bunch for Harry, and for all you mothers out there, happy Mother's Day. And a 1, and a
Mothers.
2, and a
Mothers out there.
take me out to the ball game. Take me out to the
I'm telling you, that's one of the great traditions that have developed there at Wrigley Field. Having other people sing that every day is just fabulous.
Yeah. Or as Lori said, at least get close to it.
Yeah.
At least get close to it. Oh, brother.
Wow.
We try to help. Sometimes people just like it broken. That's all I
Next
can
opening
say.
day, the 4 of us
Yep.
singing.
The 4 freshmen.
Ooh, yeah.
What do you think?
We can
What
do
do you
it.
think? We could do some little dance moves.
How about I introduce the 3 of you?
At least I know the damn words.
It's JC's Sunday Showgram on NewsTalkSTL. It was a different time. 27-cent gas prices, tie-dye, Watergate, Frampton comes alive, penny skirts, bell-bottoms, the moon landing, Elvis checks out. It's JC's Sunday Showgram on NewsTalkSTL.
I'm assuming everybody's eardrums have healed after that Opening day performance by Carrie Beth Foster. We wish her the best. Well, there have been some celestial developments, I guess you would say. People thought the rapture was coming a couple of weeks ago. It didn't happen. Or maybe it did, and it just didn't make the news. I don't know. We're so ramped up with, politics and ICE and Hamas. And I just think we're missing out on a lot. I don't know about you, but being a child of the 50s and 60s, I was very much into the space program. And I could remember when I was a little kid, sometimes the nuns would just wheel that television cart into the classroom, and you're like, oh, we're not going to have to do anything today. And they're like, okay, boys and girls, we're going to watch John Glenn get shot into space. And Glenn was the brave one, by the way. Glenn was the brave one. Because with Alan Shepard, they said, okay, we've done it with a dog. We've done it with a chimpanzee. You're going up, you're coming straight back down. Same thing with Gus Grissom. You're going up, coming straight back down. And then with John Glenn, they said, you're going up, and you're going to go around 7 times, and then we're going to try to bring you back. That flight, of course, got trimmed down to, I believe it was 3 orbits, because they were afraid his heat shield was coming off. And if you were around when that happened, you knew how scary that was. And even if you weren't around, you've seen the movies like The Right Stuff, and you know how frightening it was. I'm going to be in Washington, D.C. with Smash. We have a reunion of the radio station there, DC 101, where we all worked. Is Howard going to show up? Probably not, but you never know. And if you've ever been to Washington, especially if you've got kids, maybe you took them to the Air and Space Museum, which is a really cool place. And they have a couple of those very, very early Mercury program space capsules there. And I swear to God, I knew kids in my old neighborhood in the early 60s whose father made them a soapbox derby car that looked sturdier than those Mercury capsules. I mean, you look at the thing and there's screws holding stuff in. And over the last couple of decades, we're going further and further into outer space. The Voyager thing, and then you had the Hubble telescope, then you had the James Webb that just started a couple of years ago, and the stuff we are getting to see, it just seems so unlikely that we are all here alone, as they strongly suggested in the movie Contact with Jodie Foster and Matthew McConaughey. So it was the mid-1970s, and I was getting tired of being in college. I just wanted to get out and start with my career. And so I started trying to figure out ways to not have to go to class. And one of the things they offered at Northern Illinois University was this thing called independent study. And you had to qualify for it, and I did. And they said, okay, well, here's the deal. For an entire semester, you don't have to come to any classes. Every 2 or 3 weeks, just check in with us and let us know what you're up to, because I told them what I was going to do, and I was going to go around, I was going to do all these interviews. We're only 90 miles from Chicago, and that's where a lot of stuff was always going on. And so I started doing these radio documentaries, and not only was it fun, but also I didn't have to go to class, and I was completely on my own, and I just crafted these things and just aced them all. But one of the people that I wanted to talk to was a guy by the name of Dr. J. Allen Hynek. Those of you who are UFO people, you already know who that is. Dr. Hynek had been around for a long time as a sort of a government researcher and scientist, and he was a big debunker of UFOs. And so the United States government came along in the 1960s and said, we've got all these people running around thinking that they've seen UFOs. We need somebody from the government to put together a legitimate study, actually do the work, do the research. We'll give you the money, we'll give you the time, and when the whole thing is over, you will presumably issue some sort of a statement, some sort of a documentation that this UFO stuff is a bunch of bunk. Well, a funny thing happened on the way to the research project. Dr. J. Allen Hynek, who was a skepticist of the UFO thing, became a believer. And the way he became a believer is by reading case studies and actually applying research techniques that you would use in science or medicine or anything else, and applying those standards to UFO studies. Government wasn't too happy that Dr. J. Allen Hynek came back with a report that was the opposite of what they were anticipating. And it was about that time that I became very, very interested in talking to this guy. So he lived just off the campus of Northwestern University in the northern Chicago suburbs. I called him up, and he agreed to meet with me. I took the bus into Chicago, and I walked to his house, and he had a whole thing set up in the attic of his house, the Center for UFO Studies. And there were a couple of things that he said that day that I'm telling you I have never forgotten. The really, really good one is coming up in a minute. But the first one I want to make mention of is that he said when people come to visit me and they, want to hang around and what's the Center for UFO Studies all about, the first thing they want to do is just read cases. And there were thousands of them. This is 1974. Obviously, there was no digital technology available at this time. So these were all pieces of paper, all filed away very, very neatly in a very organized fashion. And he said, yeah, everybody wants to read case studies. And then they get through about 10 or 20 of them, and they realize they're all exactly the same. You got people from diverse backgrounds, diverse socioeconomic backgrounds, different corners of the world, all sorts of different people, educated people, uneducated people, country people, city people, every sort of imaginable human being. And when they are asked to recount their close encounter with a UFO, somehow the stories are all the same. And that was one of the big reasons he became convinced that this stuff was real, because what are all these people who don't know one another, all these people from all the different corners of the world, what, they all got together and conspired to trick this guy sitting in his attic in Northfield, Illinois? Now, I said these things are real, and you got to put real in quotation marks, because this is where it gets really good. If something happens to you and you go tell somebody, hey, guess what happened? In this case, I saw this UFO, or maybe I had a close encounter of the third kind. And people look at them like they're nuts. But then when they're interviewing these people, again, using tested scientific methods, and they use, galvanic skin response stuff and heartbeat rate, hypnotizing some people, every imaginable way that people are sort of debriefed after they have some sort of major event in their life, everything just keeps coming up the exact same way. All of these events in people's lives are A, either real, or B, real to them. In other words, this stuff happened. In their minds, it occurred. And again, even all the involuntary stuff like the galvanic skin responses, heartbeat and things, you can't control that yourself. It's like trying to cheat on a lie detector. It just can't be done. So what on earth, or not on earth, what's going on? And that's when he said something that, again, I can't tell you how often I think about this. And this happened 50 years ago. And here's what he said. So I took you to the Australian Aborigines area. These people are so devoid of anything that even resembles technology. They're just running around in loincloths and living in rocks and sand and dirt. They don't have any TV, they don't have any cell phones, they don't have any of that stuff. It's an entire population of people who are cut off from the rest of the world. They like it that way. When white researchers and scientists show up to study these people, the Australian Aborigines come up to them and try to rub the white off their skin because they think they're supposed to be black because everything they know is black skin. And now these white people show up, and these people are very friendly, but they're smiling and they're like rubbing on their skin like, why do you have this white stuff all over yourself? Rub that stuff off. And then they realize, no, this is what you look like. And Hynek said, if I took you there to this community of very, very unsophisticated people, from a technology standpoint, imagine how hard it would be for you or I to explain to them that as we're sitting right here, there are television pictures and there are voices, human voices, passing through the air right in front of us right now. You are not seeing anything and you are not hearing anything because you don't have the required receptacle, if you will, a television or a radio, to be able to see or hear these images. So what would happen based on the testimony of all these people, where all of the case studies are almost exactly the same? what would you say if I told you that maybe some of this stuff was happening on a plane of existence that not everybody is able to tune in? Or maybe only under certain circumstances can you tune in? Or maybe whatever this force is from, I don't know, for lack of a better way of saying it, outer space, what if they can control what we see or can't see and hear, and it's up to them, not us? So in other words, these things were real to these people on some level. It just might not be a plane of existence that we are able to all experience or control. So anyhow, that was the fall of 1974, and I figured that's the last I'm going to see of Dr. J. Allen Hynek. And then in 1977, I go see the movie Close Encounters of the Third Kind, and it turns out that the good chunk of the movie basically was based on Dr. J. Allen Hynek. And in fact, in that climactic scene where they're all sitting there on that famous mountaintop, Devil's Tower, I think it's called, when the UFOs actually show up in mass. There's about a little 3-second scene where a guy with glasses and a little goatee and a suit and a tie just sort of walks out right center stage, right in front of the camera. That's him. It was just sort of a nod, tip of the hat, if you will, to Dr. Hynek by the director, Steven Spielberg. But first, as they say, it's our buddy Skip Weber, without whose cooperation we would not be here on both Saturday night from 6 until 9 and Sunday mornings from 7 until 9. We are officially into the month of October right now, and things start shifting a little bit.
If you're looking for a pre-owned vehicle, you can come to our website and you can find just about any brand with just about any, maybe not on the same store, but with our 4 stores, we got them all across there. There's a lot of corporate websites, like you can go to Honda, Toyota, and Chevy and compare, the Equinox versus the RAV4 versus the CRV and decide which one, the stats are better and see videos and all that. And I think that's good, but I still think the people that end up the most confident in their purchase still come drive them all. That's very few and far between. Most people have got at least the brand. A lot of people come in and they say, I want this stock number, and they change because they see a different color, or they find out this doesn't have this certain option, but this one does. Oh, let's go to this one. Or, hey, look, we've got a rebate on this package. You can save $1,500 more if you do this, and all you do is change this option. Those things happen, but the people don't change from a Chevy to a Ford on the fly at that point. But like I said, I still think that there are people that will go drive each of them and compare them. And even though they've done a lot of research, they still use that to make up their mind. But that used to be the way. We used to have the people come in and we would educate ourselves on the other brands and what they were and what the stats were. Now we don't. Nobody knows. I mean, my guys may know a little bit of it, but it's not because the customers are asking. That's for sure.
Skip Weber with 3 locations: Granite City, Columbia, Illinois. Olive and 270 online. WeberChevrolet.com. The Weber Automotive Group, including the Ford dealership in Illinois, where I know you got lots of trucks and vans and delivery vehicles and stuff like that people can check out. Skip, have a great week, and we'll talk to you soon. Thanks.
Sounds good. Thanks, JC.
JC's Wayback Machine.
The A-List Interview with JC and the Morning Showgram.
Here we are with Robin Williams. Well, when my field rep back in St. Louis told me about this movie over the phone, I didn't quite understand it, and I thought she said the movie was called Wet Dreams May Come, starring Robin Williams.
Yeah, then they're shaving Robin's privates.
What is it, On Golden Blonde?
On Golden Blonde, yes. Yeah, Primal Rear. We have
well,
Romancing the Bone. I am the plumber. I am here to fix your pipes. And come on, just act! I wonder if they have, porno movie acting coaches. Sweetheart, I love that moment. I know there's not a lot of blood flow in the head right now. Let's just try and remember our lines.
It's JC's Sunday Showgram on NewsTalkSTL.
Man, I'm not kidding you. It was exciting when I knew I was going out to Los Angeles to interview Robin Williams. And it was also very interesting depending on who the reporter was, because I would go on these junkets. We've talked about this before. The guy from Denver would come in, then the guy from San Francisco would come in, then the guy from Detroit would come in, and now here comes the schlub from St. Louis. And you would sit outside the door waiting for your turn to do the interview, and you would sometimes hear noises, laughter, just exclamations of whatever was coming out of Robin Williams on that particular day. But much like the Bob Uecker thing, I'm going to talk about that here in just a minute. Much like Bob Uecker, Robin Williams is an improv guy. So these people do not want boring interviews. They want to be challenged. They want to be set up so they can make a joke. That's why it was so much fun to talk to them. But Robin Williams would also change his demeanor. It would turn on a dime. His father was some sort of executive with General Motors. Robin was born in Chicago but grew up in the Detroit area. But before his dad sort of hit the big time in management, he had to sell cars. He was a car salesman. And when that came up in conversation, Robin Williams' face just went ice cold because apparently it wasn't a very happy time. And apparently his father would come home telling stories of how people were always trying to, as Robin said, bust his balls. You know how you are when you're trying to buy a car. You're always trying to, get the price knocked down, and you're complaining about something or expressing skepticism about something. And meanwhile, the car salesman is standing there watching his commission just go down and down and down. And I shouldn't laugh because that's how you're feeding your family. But then you make some sort of a joke and boom, he'd snap right back into crazy Robin Williams and you would have all sorts of fun. Which brings us to the great Bob Uecker. In the early 80s, I lived in Milwaukee, was dating a girl who it turned out lived directly across the street, directly across the street, one house over, from Bob Uecker. I'd pick her up and we'd be driving away and I would see him out on the front lawn mowing his lawn and he had a pair of jean cutoffs and no shirt and not the least bit self-conscious about it. So in 1998, during the McGuire home run chase with Sammy Sosa, we sort of calculated that there was a strong possibility that Mark McGuire would break the all-time record on a road trip in Milwaukee. So we said, we don't want to miss that. We'll be the only radio station there. Let's go. Let's pack up and do the show from Milwaukee. So we did. He didn't break it on that trip, but we still had fun because we got a chance to talk to Bob Uecker. It was the final year of the old county stadium, which was just completely falling apart. So there was Karen, there was me, and there was Bob Uecker.
I don't know if there's a better baseball town in all of the country than St. Louis, and the fans and everything that happens there is big league. I mean, the Arch. I've taken a ride in the Arch a couple of times. One of these times I want to go inside and ride it. I do it from outside where it's a little tougher and a little scarier, but it's hot. That metal gets hot. You can't put your hands on it. You got to wear gloves when you climb that thing. But it's a kick. It's a lot of fun. It takes a day and a half to do it, but it's a lot of fun.
I'm assuming you have mixed emotions about the passing of this ballpark. And we heard stories. We were taking a tour yesterday. They told us they've seen skunks underneath the place.
Well, those were put here. We work here with the zoo, and we have all kinds of animals. As a matter of fact, the Discovery Channel comes in here and films once a month to find out what's underneath here, and we've seen a lot of stuff under here that's still unidentified. But I'm not sorry to get out of here. I mean, this has been a great old ballpark, but I can't wait to get to Miller Park. This place has seen its best days, I can guarantee you that.
Did you ask for anything special in the broadcast booth? They can customize, the place for you.
Well, we have a very nice booth over there, and it's unfortunately not facing the field. It actually faces this ballpark, and which is going to make calling a game kind of tough. But having been, into these adverse situations before, I think I'll come through with something.
Now, I know you had your own clothing line in the mid-'80s. Are you wearing anything from that line tonight?
No, I'm not. What I am wearing from that line I can't show you. It's kind of in shreds now, but, when you have something like that, you get a clothing line, you hate to give it up, and you don't, the stuff, you try to keep it as long as you possibly can. So most of the undergarments have been hand-washed, and you get them out in the wind to dry a little bit. They get a little shredded sometimes, but the elastic's still good in them.
You're in great shape, Bob. I hope you don't take this the wrong way. We were watching you from behind. I hope my ass is as small and as tight as yours is when I'm your age.
I have a valve back here that I can let out or blow up, and you're welcome to blow it up if you want anytime. Just, jump on, man.
Bob Uecker, it's great to see you. Congratulations on 44 years in baseball, 30 in the booth. Great to talk to you.
Thank you, guys. I'll see you later on.
I'll never forget when I asked Uecker how his career began, and he said, my first experience was being scouted by the Milwaukee Braves. I was a high school catcher in Wisconsin, and a scout for the Milwaukee Braves came to the Euchre family home, and they sat around the kitchen table, and the scout says, "We'd like to sign your son for $5,000. And Euchre's father said, "This family doesn't have that kind of money." It's kind of pretty much like established the tone of his career, you know? And we were doing the World Series in 1995, I think it was, the Indians and the Braves, and Joe Morgan was the other broadcaster, and Joe's one of the great second basemen in baseball history. He's in the Hall of Fame, and deservedly so. So he starts talking about his own World Series experiences with the Reds, and he's talking about Pete Rose and Johnny Bench and everything, and just to kind of be polite, I turn to Euchre and I say, "Euchre, did you ever play in the World Series?" And he says, "Well, you know, I was with the Cardinals in 1964, but when we played the Yankees in the series, I was on the disabled list." And I said, "Well, what was wrong with you?" He said, "I had hepatitis." I said, "How did you get that?" He said, "The trainer injected me with it."
Post-game show is brought to you by Christ, I can't find it. The hell with it.
And that seems like a pretty good place to stop. By the way, that was Julia Louis-Dreyfus laughing in the background there. And during that segment, she said the most amazing thing. She says to Costas, "Do you know about the plate in Don Zimmer's head?" Back in the, I believe it was the 1950s, Don Zimmer, who went on to coach and manage in the major leagues for decades and decades, got hit in the head with a fastball. And back then, they didn't have really good protective headgear. And, I guess he had a fractured skull or something, so they had to put a plate in his head. And she says, that plate in Don Zimmer's head, and Costas, being a wise guy, says, "Oh, yeah, I was just thinking about it the other day." She goes, "My grandfather put that in his head. Dr. Harry Lefevre was a surgeon in New York, and they sent him in there, and it was her grandfather who put the plate in Don Zimmer's head." You don't get trivia questions like that from just anywhere, folks. Well, that's it. Another JC Sunday Showgram is in the can. We're here every Sunday morning from 7 until 9 o'clock. And then we go to podcast tomorrow here on the News Talk STL free app. We also pop up on Saturday nights from 6 until 9 o'clock, playing great old songs that don't get played on the radio anymore. Before you know it, I'll be running the place into the ground. Who said that? All right, have a great remainder of your weekend. We'll talk to you again next weekend. In the meantime, we've beaten this one to death. Have a good one. See you later. Bye.